Hi, this is Kitegirl, Annabelle Drumm. In these changing times, disease and illness have become a way of life. So common and yet so elusive in how to cure it. Our medical professionals offer all they can, and yet we seem to develop 5 new illnesses for every one cure that they find. David Scharps from Malibu, California in the USA has written and produced the movie launched earlier this week, The Cure Is. I talked to him today about making the movie and how we can find that elusive cure to our body's physical illnesses. Let's take a look. Hi, David. Thank you very much for joining us today.
How are you, Annabelle?
I am well, very well. Now, you have just released a movie called The Cure. Tell me about what drew your interest into this facet of health and well-being.
So the film name is actually The Cure Is, ... And the reason we named it that is there is a finishing to that sentence at the end of the film that we really didn't want to share until the film was viewed. But what brought me forward into this, I have a prior history background of Wall Street, restaurants, and real estate, but a health fanatic. And I experienced a devastating financial loss in the crash of '08 to the point of losing all my net worth, but perhaps $500,000. And the only thing that I seemed to be interested in at that time was health and well-being. I've always been a student of health and well-being, and as I've gotten older in life, I became more and more curious. And what didn't make sense to me was how we could be confronted with our own mortality as a species, where we're nearly at a 50% rate of cancer here in the United States, 50% heart disease, where 1 out of 3 are clinically obese in this country. 2/3 of the population is overweight. And I just couldn't understand how in 100 years we could go from 5% of the population being confronted with cancer to today where it's almost 1 out of 2. And at that rate and this growth rate, we are actually threatened as a species. And so I'm not a scientist or anyone claiming to be an expert in the area of genetics, but what did not make sense to me is how do the genes change in such a short period of time when we've evolved over millions of years? And that led me to wake up one day, look at many of the authors that I've studied over the years, and decide to just go out and talk. Wow. And the result of those conversations is a presentation and an explanation on what is involved in us becoming healthy, what's involved in contracting disease. What we learned most importantly was that genetics plays a very, very small role. From what the experts say is between 5 and 10%. So then you ask yourself, well, if it's 5 and 10%, well, what about the rest? And that is what's led to one of the more fascinating, I would say this is the most important aspect of my life, is uncovering information that on this planet Earth that relates to how we stay healthy versus what really is the cause for most of these diseases. I think that as you are doing your research, the fact that you're not an expert with, an area of specialty means you're going to end up with a far broader range of research anyway. I wasn't looking for a particular answer. I was just looking for a consensus and an understanding or a new perspective. And what we uncovered is probably one of the most mind-boggling explanations for many of our health problems. And what's even more interesting is we have shared this with several thousand now, and we have not heard anyone say, that does not resonate with me. Exactly. Which means we're at a place in this planet right now where people, this message that we bring forward, which I'll share with you now, is truly could be one of the most profound discoveries as it relates to our health to come along in many, many, many of decades. And this is it.
And I think there's also the time that we're in at the moment means that people are not going to be so caught up in what they have been taught before in old beliefs that they're actually stopping and listening to new ideas and actually thinking inside, does that make sense?
Does it resonate?
Yeah,
so,
that's it.
Yeah. And so here's what I found out, and I'd like to share it with you in a sentence or two.
Okay.
That shaking up everybody. And it's that our thoughts, our beliefs, and our unresolved emotional conflicts could be the greatest threat to your health or the greatest benefit to your health in your lifetime. And so powerful are the aspects of our thinking that they can even negate many of the benefits of a perfect nutritional program. And what we're really talking about here is the stresses we create on our bodies by the stuff we store inside due to our experiences and then how we see the world. And the effect of that on the cellular level and the body chemistry that is a result of that. And when you are dealing with unresolved, deep-rooted emotional conflicts over many years, it changes the terrain of the cells, the actual way the cells relate to each other and the health of the cells. And this is what people are saying, aha, that makes sense.
Yes, yeah, that's fantastic. It's such a strong message and so very timely at the moment too. Now, David, you didn't used to be a movie director because you had all these other areas that you were working in. What gave you the idea to make it into a movie?
I'm not a good writer. I had a couple choices, and I'm not a good writer. And I did have an idea for a book. I did put together a workbook out of this called Rewired and Inspired, and it's part my own story. I've had to do my own transformation through my own evolution as a human being, and I feel like during this process, I've been able to reprogram myself through my own health challenges and things of that nature. But to be quite frank, I don't know how I got this done, to be honest. I had no mentor. I'm not in this film, but I was the writer, producer, director. I did all the major editing. And there was a team with me, but nobody in the directional role or producing role. It was just whether it be someone filming or a person editing, or I had a person that did incredible cinematography that's part of this film. He's one of the best in the world.
I can see
and
that.
So,
it's beautiful.
Yeah, very stunning stuff. But really, the idea that I made a film with no experience and was able to deliver something is testament to everyone's ability as a human being. And what we bring forward in this film, which is so important, is that deep-rooted within every one of us, bestowed to us at birth, is the gift of genius. Absolutely. And every one of us has a unique gift of genius, whether it be a sport or an activity or a particular area of academia. What I have learned is, because we've evolved over so many millions of years, encoded in our DNA is almost every answer to anything you ever really wanted to know if you could just listen to your instinctual intelligence.
Yes.
And this film is the healing process is really about listening to your instinctual intelligence as it relates to what is going on with you and what's happened in this day and age.
Yes.
It's a disconnect. There is a complete disconnect between how we feel and what we're willing to recognize as what's happening within us. And that disconnect is causing a lot of dis-ease within our bodies, which is the root of all evils. And what we say here in this film is we are all equally powerful if we could just stop and listen and stop this hamster on the treadmill program that's literally killing all of us.
Yeah, though I think that what's going to be so important for people to understand out of this is that it's up to them. You can't rely anymore on other people to say, this is what you need to do. You've got to take it on yourself and go, I'm brave enough to face all my baggage and find all these old beliefs that need cleaning up. It's like the biggest spring clean in the world, is how I've explained it before. It's something that you need to take on yourself, and you can do it with other people, but you can't rely on other people to do it for you.
You just hit it on the head, because you just finished the name of the film. I don't want to say what it is, but you did it. You did it without, and you don't even know actually yet. But the exciting thing about the cure is ... figure it out when you see the end of the movie, is that it pertains to every human being on the planet in the sense that we're all affected by emotional trash that's stored at the cellular level.
Yes.
And what I'm willing to say in this interview is it affects your health. I'm not saying it's the cause of everything, but what I can tell you is it could be even more powerful. Nutrition is hugely important. The body cannot function without nutrients. But what we're learning is the chemistry involved in the stresses that we create, of which emotions play one of the greatest role, is far more powerful than anything else that we've discovered.
Yeah.
And environment plays a role, nutrition plays a role. But what I want to bring forward to the world right now is that our thoughts, beliefs, and unresolved emotions could be one of the greatest contributors to the disease process of all of them.
Yeah,
that's a big one.
Agree.
But the good news is we can fix it.
We can. I think this is going to be a wonderful movie.
It's in our control. It's not a doctor's control. It's not a pill. It's resolve your stuff or face the consequences of not resolving it.
Yeah.
And you'll hear in the movie from people that were told they were going to die and the doctors gave up on them, and they tell their story, how they transformed and lived and told their story in this film. And then we weave the experts' explanation of what that's all about. How does that happen? And if that happens, then why can't it happen with somebody else? And what did they do? That information is very important because there's a lot of people suffering with disease, with life-threatening illness. They don't believe they put their power in the doctor.
Indeed.
It's great to have a consultant, but the power is not in anybody else but yourself.
Indeed, I agree.
And my advice to anyone struggling is don't buy into what you're told. Once you do that, they have your power.
That's it. I think this is going to be a wonderful movie for people. I'm going to put a link at the bottom of this interview so that you can, the viewers can find their way to it. Now, David, can you tell me also about the transformational package that you have? That's different from just the movie, isn't it?
Yeah, what we're trying to do here is offer content at a very attractive price. We've got about $100 worth of information, which includes a couple books. Bruce Lipton, who is, one of the first to do cloning of cells 44 years ago. We have an hour-and-a-half film of his in there, 2 ebooks. We have a piece on nutrition. We have a piece on affirmations coming out, the 10 most powerful affirmations. And so there's like 7 products in there that we're selling for $29.95.
That's great value. Okay, well, keep an eye out for the links below, everybody, and you can see that. Thank you very much for spending some time with us today, David.
Thank you for allowing us to share with you.
Wonderful.
It's been a pleasure to see you.
And you too. Thanks.
Oh, bye-bye.